1 hit. It didn't sound like much, except that it was. "We'll die of old age first," I muttered, earning another downward twitch of his mouth. Of course, we were both Fae, so we're theoretically slotted to live a very long time, but with him being Faerie's youngest ruler and me being, well, me with my propensity for near-death experiences, either one of us would do well to live to something Fae considered middle age. This is totally not why I shaved my legs. That statement made him pause. His eyes raked down my body, finally noticing how high our sparring had lifted my skirt. A wicked smile that did funny things to my stomach crossed his face, and he lifted an eyebrow. "And I will make sure to show my appreciation for that selfless act later. But first," he said, lifting his free hand and flexing his fingers in a come-at-me motion, "you need to score 1 hit." Damn. I slunk forward, practice dagger raised. My own dagger would have served me better. I might have even stood a chance, as the enchanted blade possessed an intelligence that guided my hand, but Phelan had insisted I learn to duel without the enchanted dagger. I'd increase my chances of surviving if I had skill to back up the blade's magic, or so he claimed. The problem was, I had absolutely no skill at combat. Phelan's foot shot out in a sweeping blow. I was expecting it. The move was one of the attacks we'd been practicing all night. I leapt to the side, but not fast enough. My feet flew out from under me and my ass slammed into the ground, the air bursting from my lungs. Before I could blink, Phelan followed me down, and my back hit the ice, his knee planted in my sternum. Not hard. He avoided knocking the air out of me a second time, but the move effectively pinned me to the ice. I jerked my arm up, trying to block the blade I knew was coming next. The rasp and clang of metal colliding filled the air, and for an elated moment I thought I'd actually succeeded in stopping his dagger. Then the bite of dull steel pressed at my throat. Phelan lifted one pale eyebrow. "Better." "But I'm still dead," I said with a huff, as he removed the tip of his dagger from the hollow of my throat. "Yes, but you're getting faster. You got your dagger up in time to try to defend. That's progress." Try being the key word in that sentence. Yay me, not. "Again," he said as he stood with effortless grace. I just glared from where I was sprawled on the floor. He didn't even have the decency to look abashed, but at least he held out a hand to help me up. I accepted, letting him haul me to my feet, but as I straightened, I feigned a stumble. He, of course, didn't let me fall. Knock my ass to the floor while training? Not an issue, but he wouldn't let me trip. Keeper, right? As he caught my arm, I moved into him. The fingers of my empty hand skittered up the front of his shirt, and I felt him tense, as if trying to determine if this was an attack. I flashed him a smile, and then took a very deliberate gaze down his body. While I was out of breath, sweaty, and likely flushed from sparring, he looked amazing. The top few buttons of his shirt were open, flashing the lean muscles of his chest. The lightest glimmer of perspiration dusted that exposed skin, making it look absolutely lickable. My eyes continued their wandering perusal, taking in his perfectly chiseled features, full lips, sharp cheekbones, and intense blue eyes. I let my appreciation show in my face as I looked back up at him and bit my bottom lip. His gaze shot to my mouth, and the tension in his body changed. His arms slid around me, drawing me even closer. Then his mouth met mine. Our history was complicated. We slept together months ago in a coupling that was probably more emotional than it should have been for how short we'd known each other at the time and for how many secrets we'd both been holding. But it had been a one-time event. Circumstances, and by that I mostly mean the fact that Phelan had been sworn to obey an insane queen, had prevented any further exploration of a relationship. Well, that and the fact that I'd briefly dated Death, a soul collector whose real name I still didn't know. Death and I broke up nearly 2 months ago, and the Winter Queen was dead, so theoretically nothing stood between Phelan and me.